What's up, everybody? It's Friday again, and we are back with a very powerful episode today that is business intelligence for starters. So, a lot of you have been reaching out to me to grab a glimpse of it, like what business intelligence is, what are the job opportunities, how can you become a business intelligence engineer, and what it takes to become one. So I thought, I was not the best person because I have a very little experience in this field. So I got you a very, I got you an excellent person who has been in this field for 20 years now. So as I say 20 years, yes, I take a good sigh like, oh my gosh, he knows everything. So without much ado, let me introduce you to Kevin. He is a business intelligence engineer, a data expert, a database administrator, a reporting person, like everything one can imagine in data field. So without much ado, let me introduce you to Kevin. Kevin, hello. Please introduce yourself to everybody.
All right, I am Kevin Wilkie. As Nikita said, I have been doing working all kinds of databases for several years now. It seems like just yesterday, but it is well over 20 years. I've worked in many databases from SQL Server to Oracle, PostGres, MySQL, Mongo, and God knows what else at this point. Pretty much if you have any data, I have worked with it or can work with it fairly easily, doing whatever you needed.
Awesome. What makes you passionate about business intelligence and data?
Because I like to show to the clients, the users, what their real data is and what they can do with the data, making their company that much better because they can actually see the data that underlies the data they think they know.
Great. Okay. So why do you think people should get into business intelligence?
For most people, the great reason to get into business intelligence is to actually like I said, help everybody get better acquainted with their data, to not just give them data, because as I'll go to in a slide here in a minute, you play with data all the time, but actually getting information or knowledge to the client or to a user, whether it be at the executive level or at just the manager level or just at the normal everyday worker level, that always means something, especially if someone can actually do something with it that will help them make a better decision or just make the right decision.
Okay. So one more question before we get started with today's presentation. So do you think people who are not really fond of coding, business intelligence or data can be a great field for them since it doesn't require a lot of extensive coding?
Well, depending on what you do, it can be extensive. It can be challenging, let's say, to get it right. 'Cause I wouldn't say it's no code. It's depending on how it's set up, it can be low code, as one of the great buzzwords of today is. But you still will have to do some code. It's not at the level of C#, some of the stuff in C# that I've had to play with over the years, or Java. It's more of a lower level, but you can it's more, to me at least, it's closer to actual English or Indian or whatever you want to actually work in. It's at least more towards our normal speech pattern than especially some of the other languages that I've worked with over the years.
Okay. So you absolutely love your job, is it? From a business intelligence engineer who has been working in this field for 20 years, I think it's a very obvious question to ask. Do you enjoy your job in data?
I truly, like one of the things said many years ago, I looked for a job that I truly wouldn't have to work in, because every day like I've told people, I'm truly playing with data, information, whatnot. I don't work. I play. I get
Awesome.
the data that people need, but it's still play for me. It's nice to be able to actually get paid to play.
So, to sum up, can I say you don't wait for weekends?
Well, usually on the weekends, I'm either setting up presentations so I can do things like this, or I'm working on setting up different presentations for others for some of the virtual groups I'm in, or I'm learning new things, which, as we all know, is fun. Or at least it should be. Now, I do take some time away, and I do go hiking and spend time with my family, but they've gotten used to whatever I do, which is just fun for me.
That's awesome. So, your job is not a job if you enjoy it.
That's right.
So, you truly live for it.
Oh, yeah.
All right. Okay, so I think a lot of people have joined us as well, so we can get started with today's slide deck presentation.
All right. So let's see here. Okay. Business intelligence for beginners. All right. So first question is, what is business intelligence? Most people, they hear the buzzwords for years and they're like, what does it mean? All right. So in 1988, Howard Dressner referred to it as concepts and methods to improve business decision-making by using fact-based support systems, which we still kind of do. We've expanded the definition a little bit over the years and made it a little bit more expansive. Definition is a set of methodologies, processes, architectures, and technologies that transform raw data into meaningful and useful information used to enable more effective strategic, tactical, and operational insights in decision-making. That's a whole lot of words that basically means it's everything you need to have to make sure that from the data that the users have, whatever form it may come to you in, you'll actually spit out data that or information that the client can use and be able to work off of it. All right, so what makes up business intelligence? 5 things. Source data, ETL, data warehouse, visualizations, and dashboards. Now, you don't have to have all 5 to actually do business intelligence, but you will have at least one of them in some form or fashion, whether you do it or not, because it may be somebody else that did it. So let's go deeper into what truly makes up each of these. So the big one here is source data. Source data is just any data that has not been processed for meaningful use to become information. All right, so when I think of source data, I truly focus on just this part down here. So it's truly just the data. Data, when it comes from a client, usually is in a awful format. It's in CSVs or some ugly thing that I've still got to manipulate, work with to get it into a better form, which, as we see here by this wonderful chart, which I truly love, it's called the DIKW triangle. When I'm working with data, I have to remember that given the context of how their data comes in and work with it, I can get it into an information stage. You give that information a little bit more meaning. So what you can do with it, what it means to be it a physician or a contractor, any depending on what the data itself is for. You can then go up to the knowledge stage, which we all know when you add some learning onto that and have actually truly brought in the knowledge itself, and you add some learning to it, it becomes a little bit of wisdom, which is what we're truly all looking for. And the good thing about wisdom is that wisdom itself is actually actionable. I can do something once I have wisdom. If I'm still down here at the data stage, there's not a lot I can do with it it's a whole lot of data. It's a whole lot of mess. I'm not going to be able to do nothing with that. But once I bring it up here to wisdom, that I can do something with, and actually I can help this is where I help the clients or users move forward and be able to do something with their data. That's truly the point I like to get to and actually show the people what I can do with it. All right. So what is source data? It's everything. As you see here, it's databases from SQL Server, Oracle, PostGres. Probably the most used item on most of your floors. It's the Excel spreadsheet. It's the CSVs from those Excel spreadsheets that you've played with. The HR systems, payroll systems, any of your internal websites, be it SharePoint, an internal Wikipedia, which we all have at least one or two. But it also includes social media. So things like Twitter, LinkedIn, Facebook, even Etsy and Pinterest are all some kind of source data depending on your industry. I can use weather information, any industry news reports, government reports. Like I said, any external data source, if I can call it through an API, it will definitely be in my list of social media, list of external data sources. So therefore, it's something I can use to make my data that much cleaner and that much better for our users, which is truly the point of the whole thing. All right, so let's see. All right, so once I have source data, we got to clean it up. One of the places I can make that data that much cleaner is in a data warehouse. So data warehouse is simply just a system that aggregates data from multiple sources into a single central consistent data store. So basically, all I'm saying is that you have one place for everything, and it's clean. When it goes into the data warehouse, the important point of that is that you don't have to do anything or shouldn't have to do anything with that to clean it up, to split it out, do anything with it. It should be, ready to go at that stage. And that's what we try for in our data warehouses. So in a modern data warehouse, you'll have, let's back up. In a data warehouse that some of us have seen, it's truly like one database table. It has everything. I have seen that, worked with it. After a little while, you'll expand that one. Thankfully, for better or worse, we now have our modern data warehouse, which can look something similar to this. This is, for a first timer, this is going to be awful because there's all kinds of things that you'll get from many different places. You'll get it, you name it, it's a little bit of everywhere. As you see here, there's flat files, relational data sources, so SQL servers and oracles and whatnot. NoSQL, you get the web applications, our wonderful social media, which all make up the data warehouse. You've got all kinds of everything. And that's a lot of stuff to look at. So that's one of the things that I try to make a little bit easier on people. So how do we get from our original data sources to the modern data warehouse? Well, that's where we use one of our great tools. We have ETL, which is one of the part I've brought up earlier. And like it shows here, it gets from source systems into your data warehouse. Now, why is it called ETL? When we say ETL, what does ETL mean? It simply means extract, transform, and load. That's as simple as it gets. We extract data from our original source systems. We change it, we manipulate it, we do whatever we need to clean the data, and then we load it right into a data warehouse. There can be lots of steps to do that. I've seen some that take, I have worked on systems that take about a week to load the entire thing into it. I have worked on systems that or continuously loading data into their data warehouse. It just depends on what you need to work with, or what your time to get everything into the data warehouse is. You'll have to work with your business groups to figure out what that is. And that can be doable. All right, so when we say ETL, what tools should we use for getting our data from source system into data warehouse? The things that I like to pay attention to, or at least one of the tools that I would not use, or any of those that cause a problem in any of these 5 areas. So when we say data connectivity, if I cannot reach one of my data sources with a tool that I'm trying to use, I have a problem. I can't use that tool, because if I can't reach data, then that means the data is no use to me, because it can't go into my data warehouse. Therefore, I can't use that tool, not at least as it is. So performance is also a big hit for me, because like I said earlier, if I can't hit an SLA, I got a problem, especially if I can't hit it consistently. If the process is supposed to run hourly and it takes over an hour to process my data using this tool, I have a problem. I can't use that tool. So we need to try another tool. Another big part is transformation flexibility. If I'm unable to transform or clean the data the way that I need to get it into my data warehouse, I have a problem. I can't, if I can't make it work with their native tools, I can't use that tool no matter what it is. One of the bigger ones for me of these 5, all are really big, but I'm very cognizant of data quality. If I can't clean the data to match the quality of the data already in the system, I have a problem. For example, since I work with a lot of healthcare data, if in one of my source systems, a new one comes up, and if I get a patient called Mr. Test, that's obviously a test patient. We can all tell by looking at the name, that's something not right with that one. If somebody's named Mr. Test, feel sorry for him, but it does happen, especially for all 3 names. That would be something. But if it goes into my data warehouse where I've already cleaned out all the test patients, I have a problem, because that's making it look as if I have another patient that's not real. And especially for the visits and whatnot that I have in there for this patient, especially for most of my clients, there can be thousands of visits, which would really skew some of my data, which would be really bad. So that one's big on data quality. The other one that most people forget is, when looking at tools and figuring out which tool to use, is committed vendor. If the vendor does not have a support forum, or he's completely unwilling to work with you, you have a problem with that tool. Because one of the things I check if I'm looking at new tools, first off, I look at their website. If I cannot find a support forum, whether it be at least an email or some Facebook group, LinkedIn group, Twitter, something, be able to get some help if I need it, because I don't understand the tool or it's not working quite right, I'm going to go to a different tool, especially because I have found tools that there's like 6 people using, and if none of those are willing to help me, I can't make my tool work, which makes it useless to me. So I go to the next tool. The reason I bring that up is because, especially with open source tools, you'll find a few of them are trying to get by with simple things, and they forget the support forums. Don't do that. It's very helpful to have somebody out there you can reach out to that knows what they're talking about and can help me use my tool. So That's important to remember. Yep. All right. So which tool is the best for me? Over the years, I've used all of these. These are all well-known tools. Most people have used them several times, or at least have heard of them. Obviously, use any tool you can find that works and does exactly what I want it to. Please refer to previous slide for that. These are all great tools. I've used all of them, and they do all work rather well. And there is great support forums. That's the helpful part. All right. One of our lists that we had for business intelligence was data visualization. This is one of my favorite parts. All right. When we talk about data visualizations, they're just graphical representations of information and data. Refer back to our original slide where we showed what is data and what we can do with it. Because now you should have information, not just data, but information. Because we've crept up, we've cleaned it up, we've made it a little bit better. We've put enough data behind it that we know what we're working with, and we've made it better and show more of what the business wants. By using the visual elements like charts, graphs, maps, whatnot, we provide an accessible way for everyone to be able to see, understand trends, outliers, and patterns. So when we talk about data visualizations, what are they? So I have some examples. The big one here is maps. We use lots of maps when we work with some of our other data points, showing where everything is. Everybody understands a map pretty well. I like using things like this here. It shows the outliers. So for this case, we have invalid state information, and we can tell quickly by this one blurb. There are 13,000 accounts for the United States, and 646 of them have really bad state information. That puts it right in front of the users. They can see, oh, we need to fix this, especially if it's 13,000 of them, of the 13,124, we really have a problem. But now we at least know we have a quantifiable amount. We can say, this is how bad it is, how bad our data is. So we need to clean it. If they decide it's low enough, they don't care, then okay, fine, that's up to them. But if they decide it's over 2% or whatever it is, time to fix it. Also, we have one of our other favorite visualizations. Everybody tries to use it. Yes, that means please don't use it as much as everybody tries to say to. There are reasons, yes, to use the wonderful pie chart. Notice here we have 3 points we're trying to show on it. This is just by device type. There are reasons you want to pay attention to this because it shows pretty well the fact that you have a tablet that is 3% of the market, mobile users 45, and you can judge quite well how much everything is. Obviously, we want you to check over here for the legend what everything means, and there are other ways you can show this data as well. But this one shows pretty well how each one is classified, and it shows the difference between a desktop and how much is on tablet rather quickly. Now, the fun part. Which visualization tool should I use? There's lots. There's no wrong answer. There truly isn't. I have my favorites I tend to go to for depending on what it is or what I want to show and how I want to show it and who I want to show it to. There's all kinds of different things that go into picking which one is which. You get, after a while, you get more and more used to them. You'll play with it and be able to see which ones you'd like to use in which situations. But they're all
Would you
great.
want to use SAS VA?
I'm sorry, say that again?
Would you not use SAS VA?
I have not seen a place where I would use that, but I'm all for it. If there are reasons I can use that, and the company I work with wants me to use that or has that available, I'm all for it. All right, so this is all visualizations. So the last one that's on the list is dashboard. So what's the dashboard? And what's the difference between the dashboard and the visualization? There's a fair amount, actually. Dashboard is any information management tool that visually tracks, analyzes, and displays the KPIs, metrics, or other key data points to monitor the health of a business, department, or specific process. What we want to key in there is to monitor the health of a business, department, or specific process. Visualizations can show anything, but a dashboard truly has to help those figure out how good the business, department, or process is doing. That's the key point, at least to me. When I am working with a dashboard, I ask a number of questions. Is it because a dashboard should be fueled by business questions themselves. Unlike advanced business intelligence tools, dashboards are truly designed for a quick analysis and informational awareness. I should be able to look quickly and see one number or a few numbers to actually tell me how I'm doing. If I'm trending up, trending down, I should be able to tell pretty quickly. I don't want to have to bring up my Excel spreadsheet, work it through some formulas to figure out, oh, this means this, I'm good, or I am awful at this point. It should be all there on the screen. The most common approach to designing a business dashboard is to build it using a question answer format. So, for example, I should be able to ask, how am I doing this year with by bringing in, what's my profit for the year? It tells me a number. What was my profit last year? Boom. It should be able to tell me pretty quickly. All right. Dashboards can also focus on presenting operational and analytical data. So analytical data dashboards are typically designed to help decision makers, executives, and senior leaders establish targets, set goals, and understand what and why something happened with the same information so that they can use to implement appropriate changes. Excuse me. So basically, like I said earlier, checking profit loss versus last year. I can make the changes quickly, depending on how we want to show everyone off. We'll show our data. This helps them to get to a place where they can make a action like we talked about earlier. That's why I truly love the dashboards. All right, so with that, there's one more. The important thing for a dashboard is also to present interactive data. So if I click on one part of it, it usually, and at least in most of my things that I show, it actually will focus on this one. And so I can actually, it changes some of the other data points around. So it truly is focused on that one. I can specifically look to see how well one specific part is doing instead of having to go, like I said earlier, down into another couple of reports where I then have to work with data to manipulate it to see what we're doing. No executive's going to want to do that or has time to do that. So they truly expect, by looking at just the dashboard, they can click on this, shows this, boom, I'm seeing now I'm that good. Works pretty well. All right, so now that we went through and showed all true 5 parts to business intelligence, big question, how do we get into it? So the big part that I truly recommend now, a lot of my friends and a lot of people I know working with business intelligence are truly doing it. It helps not just the person getting into business intelligence, it also helps the client work with their data and know for well and sure that everyone knows what they're doing, and it just makes for a lot better work for everyone in general. Is certifications. I've listed 2 of the big ones that people are going for now. Microsoft and Power BI. Tableau has a certification program. You can always get onto some of your different certification places for whether it be R, Python, any of your favorite languages. Pretty much most of your major business intelligence tools or that people are starting to do for dashboards and whatnot, there will be a certification you can get to show how great they are. And you'll getting to the exam stage, you will learn a lot. At least I always have. That's why I bring up the next point. Never, ever stop learning. That is one of the things that I truly do that help me feel a lot better about not just SQL or any of the other languages I work with to get data out there to our clients. Because we all know that if you learn 20% of the language, you'll learn 80% of what you'll be able to do or what you'll be able to ask for. Because there are some days that you need that 21%. So you can help so much more of what you'll need to do for our users. And certifications really do help that. Helps your resume and CV look that much better. So always go for these certifications. They really, truly do help. Also, big thing to get into business intelligence is networking. Whether it be through just the friends you went to college with, people you work with now, you can also do user groups. Now, I'm a big proponent of user groups because I run a group that's called DBA Fundamentals. We talk on databases. We talk about being a DBA and helping the DBA learn the fundamentals of that. But we expand pretty well out there as well. We cover a lot of different topics that people will need to know, whether depending on what you do with DBAs, because DBA term nowadays is rather vague. They're asked to do a lot of stuff. I know coming up, we have a presentation on CI/CD, which will be great fun for us. But always get into any of your any of your virtual groups that you find appealing. There's probably going to be one in your area. I know there are several, at least here around where I am, that I can learn about business intelligence or some form of it. Find your favorite ones, go to them. Right now, since we're still in COVID, you'll do a lot of things virtually, and there are a lot out there that will meet at least once a week. You'll find a good one once a week you can find pretty easily. Recommend definitely going to those. Another big one is social media. I'm on social media a lot, whether it be LinkedIn, Twitter. You'll find somebody talking about something within, be it business intelligence, something in that range, pretty much 24/7. You can actually go over what you truly can bring in to yourself. Just remember, there's a lot of stuff out there on business intelligence, and between those two places, those three places, you can find all you need to know about business intelligence, or at least someone that can help you get to those. So with that is actually the end of my presentation, and we'll give out some of this information later if you want to contact me on any questions we have. Another big one that I did want to talk about that I actually don't have any slides on is the difference between business intelligence analyst and a business intelligence engineer. That one truly, it depends on what your place of business wants to call it. That it's fairly vague term right now. It's kind of like the term business analyst. There's a lot of people that have that phrase as their title, and it means a lot of things to different people. I've actually had the term business analyst a couple of times in my life. So, and depending on how you do work with, you can have your title too. So, sorry, rambled. I'm good at rambling. Business intelligence analyst. So to me, an analyst truly goes deep into the data and becomes a SME, knowing they work more with from data, they can get it more towards the wisdom stage, and truly will be able to walk most people through that level. If they don't know it, they'll work with another SME who is truly deep into the work itself, and can make it to at least to the wisdom, try to make it to the wisdom level as much as possible. A engineer is truly focused more on, like, for example, SQL or Power BI, Tableau, any of those, to get it to a level such that a executive of some type can get it cleaner, or can work with it better. That's truly more of the focus. So basically, the difference to me is the SME level, because the analyst is truly available to learn deep into what the data itself is and how it should be worked, and can be asked all kinds of questions from people you never know what they're going to ask. Some that you may have to just say, I don't understand the question, and we're going to have to focus on this one for a little bit while I try to research that. Where an engineer is truly more working with the data itself and more focused on cleaning that up and getting it only to a stage where others can hand the data off to them.
Okay. So, first of all, it was a complete show. As in, it didn't sound like, we are going through something technical, which is like, oh my gosh, I have to learn technical stuff. It just sounded like you're sharing your experiences, having fun while, telling us the story. So it was like kind of storytelling that you did right now.
Good. I like stories. I learn more from a story than I ever will from a dictionary or whatnot. So.
Okay. So the participation from audience is kind of awesome, and they have tons of meaningful questions. So I will go through them one by one, and I'll let you answer.
All right. Woo, there
Okay.
is a lot of questions. Man.
A lot. So first question is, what is the growth path for a BI analyst? What responsibilities will one handle till one reaches the top position in BI space?
Well, all right. So truly, to me, everyone should truly start off as a BI engineer. They're truly just cleaning up data, making sure that the data is clean. That should be their main focus for at least, I would say, a couple of years. Now, after that, then they can go into learning more about the analyst work. I only say that because to understand the data, you have to truly be immersed into it. At the same time, you should be growing and knowing, learning the SME, the amount of work you have to do to be a SME in your area. Like, for example, I work currently in hospital, and I work with data analytics in the hospitals, in the medical fields. I have to know, to be a BI analyst, I have to know a fair amount of work goes into the CPT codes, the codes that the doctors and the billers use. I have to be able to understand all those codes, or at least have a fair idea of what most of them are. At least talk fairly well with the actual C-levels that actually that work with this day in, day out, and not look like too big of a fool. That's what we're trying for. Once you become a SME, and a business analyst, then you work more and more. Truly, at that point, it all depends on what you want to do with it. Because by then, you should know if you want to go if you're good enough that you want to stay in that realm, that vertical, or truly go to a different vertical. There's truly at that point, the growth path is truly open for anything. You can go over to being a project manager, a project owner, you name it. It's all open for you. It's as
Okay.
simple as that. There's once you become a BI analyst and you understand the data, go for it.
Okay, one personal question from your career. If I just pick up, so you have actually explored a lot of it, all the verticals, from a database administrator to you said ETL also, and now reporting and visualization. So do you think switching between verticals would be a great option to explore, never getting bored of it, and also knowing each bit of what a BI does?
Um, it depends. I know that's the normal DBA answer, but it truly depends. Some people find they enjoy switching verticals. I think I've worked in like 10 at this point. I keep going back to some that I truly like, depending on what happens. I truly enjoy working in the hospital field. Um, it was one of my first, and I keep going back to it somehow or another. It's just what you'd enjoy doing. Some people enjoy being a consultant. Some people hate being a consultant. So it depends on you. Truly find one. If you like it, if you can stay in that one, go for it. If you feel like you want to try something else, go for that too. Just be wary. You have to become a SME, or at least you'll feel like you will have to become a SME pretty quick. Especially once you become one, yeah, you got to do it again.
Fair enough. Got a lot of questions. I'll just put one by one here on the screen.
You're good.
So, business intelligence and data analyst are same. This is one of the questions which I have planned to ask as well because this is a common confusion.
So it depends. You'll hear me say that one a lot. It depends. Some places say yes, they are the same. Some people say there's vast differences. So to me, a business intelligence analyst will work more with the visualizations. A data analyst, depending on where you're at, won't be asked to as much, if at all. To me, that's the difference. Obviously, check with where you're working to see what they think the difference is, because mileage varies.
Okay, so like when we talk about a business intelligence engineer, it comes with data warehousing and all these concepts, right? But for a data analyst, I don't think it all exists. Like,
It can, because some places, some visualizations, I don't need a data warehouse. Some I do. Just depends on what I want to work with. Depends how much I need to clean it. If I want to work off reporting structures, I can do all kinds of things if I have a data warehouse. Obviously, it also depends on what your data warehouse is. Yeah, that's a rather wide opening on that one.
I agree. Yeah. Now that the technology is changing, it's getting so much on cloud, we just cannot guarantee data warehousing as well.
Correct.
Okay. Next question. Nowadays, we hear a term data river, how it's different than data lake, and in turn different than data warehouse. I have never heard a data river honestly as of now.
I have not heard data river. I'm well. I think I think I heard it once. I have not had a chance to look into it, but I can tell you the difference between a data lake and a data warehouse. That's the fun one. So a data warehouse is, like we said, it's a clean form of all of your data, or it should be clean. We'll go that route. It should be clean. There should be a lot of work that goes into that, making sure your data warehouse is good for reporting, for you name it. A data lake is truly just a place where data lives. So in Azure, for example, since I use Azure a lot, we have called Azure Data Lake, which is where a lot of files truly are just shoved in until they can be processed into our data warehouse. Now, the problem with data lakes is that they become data swamps, and you'll have lots of ugly data that's been sitting out there for years, and you've done nothing with it. Don't let it become a data swamp. Keep it at least data lake and into your data warehouse at some point soon.
Okay. Next question. Is ETL obsolete thing or now we use data lakes? I don't agree with it as of yet, right? I mean, we use it.
Oh, yes, we absolutely use it. So I've heard a lot of things are becoming obsolete over the years. For example, DBA, I've heard, has been obsolete for the last 20 years. I don't think the DBA will ever become obsolete, truly. I don't think that ETL will ever become obsolete. I think we'll do it in different ways. Because, for example, I have heard Power BI can be used as an ETL tool. Would I use it that way? No. Well, I'll take that back. In very few circumstances, I would use it as an ETL tool. Edge cases, but because I like setting up the ETL tool to put things into a data warehouse, or many other reasons I use ETL tools. It's truly just to get data from one place to another and clean it up however I need to. Yeah, I use data lakes truly just to get data from our client into one big, massive area, and then I can swoop through that and push it into data warehouse or some other data repository quickly.
But that is such an interesting question for debate. What's it? I mean,
Yeah,
right?
every time you like, oh, what's obsolete now? Because the other day I heard that dashboards are becoming obsolete. I'm like, really? And it was truly just put out there as bait. It's clickbait. Yeah, it is, but it isn't. The term is being changed a little bit so that you will use it more effectively.
Yeah, and the same conversation I was having with my friend the other day, that is DBA going to be an obsolete profile? I was like, no, I have been hearing this since the time I have got into this industry. Until now, I don't see any remarkable slant over there. So for sure, it's not going anywhere. So,
Yeah, the terms may change a little bit, but it's not truly going away. Still do it. You just may not realize you're doing it.
yeah, we are not maybe saying it out loud, but we are still doing it.
Yep.
Next question, is learning MS Excel necessary to be a good BI developer?
All right, so I love this question. So the answer is it depends. I love Excel. I have been able to teach a lot of people working with data many things that are just easy in Excel. For example, one of the big things that people do all the time, have been doing it for years, is VLOOKUPs. I got many years ago where I could actually type a VLOOKUP without having to do the little wizards. And I've seen people that they've been doing it for the same amount of time or more, and they still rely on wizards, or they can't make it work. Yeah, At some point, learn at least the basics, what you can do with it. Take a class. There's a lot of classes out there for like Udemy. You name it. There's some kind of class you can go out there and learn Excel, advanced functions of Excel. I know there's like webinars every week, if not more, on one tiny function of Excel that they have used in great ways to make their life much easier, definitely go with as many webinars as you can, because there's a lot of goodness out there you can do in Excel. And you find sometimes that if, depending on what the client wants, it's just easier in Excel. If you can do it all in Excel without having to bring it into SQL Server or Oracle and then push it back out, do it. Do it there. Make it simple on yourself.
Yeah. So, fun fact is when back in college, we never respected kind of, Excel or Google Sheet skills. We never knew actually if it's important at all. But every now, here and then, when we see job descriptions defining we need an expert in MS Excel, we now realize, look like, oh my gosh, we just lost it. We lost it all the years.
I worked at one place several years ago now where 90% of my work was actually done in Excel because we had to create, excuse me, spreadsheets for our executive levels. We had to create one for each store. And I did that in Excel using VLOOKUPs. I manipulated it, all the data I needed to in SQL Server, copied it over into my Excel spreadsheet. It just cranked them out. We had 300 plus stores, so we had 300 plus SQL Server, 300 plus spreadsheets for our C levels, and then we bashed them up into sub-regions and regions so that everybody got to see what everything was created for. It was great once I had it all working. So yeah, that was a fun project just because I got to play in Excel like all day, getting it right. And yeah, once we had it processed, it was great. So they loved it. They were happy. So it's all good.
Yeah, I see many people creating visualizations in Google Sheets and Excel. So, to answer to this question is yes.
It
Right.
definitely doesn't hurt.
Great. Okay. So, is it enough to learn any one ETL tool that you showed, or should we learn one based on market demand? Market demand.
So I will answer this another way. There is no one tool you can learn that will do everything. Period. So yeah, I would learn at least a couple. Obviously do the big ones you can find. I know SSIS from Microsoft is a big thing that's used for all your Microsoft shops. I would at least know the basics of that. Any of your Oracle places will probably use Oracle Developer. Beyond that, pick a couple that make you happy. It's all good. They will be used one way or another.
Okay. So one question from, if you are a recruiter, okay, if you are the hiring a person who is good in ETL, but he knows Informatica Power Center, for some reason your organization doesn't use it. Your organization, maybe it uses SSIS or some other ETL tool or Pentaho or anything else. So, would you hire that person if he is good at basics, but not necessarily aware of the tool you are using real time?
That depends. Because, well, only to say that because you brought up the magic word, they're a Microsoft shop. If they're not a Microsoft shop, then yeah, I'd go for it. It truly doesn't matter. At least if they know one of the big ones, not some weird open source ETL tool that you probably haven't heard of, but it's supposed to do great. I may not hire them, but if they had Informatica, yeah, I'd probably hire them. If it wasn't a Microsoft shop, if it's a Microsoft shop, yeah, you're probably going to have to know SSIS.
Okay. So that person should know at least one enterprise-friendly ETL tool for you to hire that person, right?
Yep.
I got it. Okay. So next question. Can I still do well in BI career if I don't learn R Python? As lots of job descriptions today ask for it for a preferred candidate. Great question. Great question.
That is really good. So you could do okay. I don't know Python. I'll be honest. I have not had a chance to learn that one yet, but I do know R. So it makes you'll find as you go through and you're learning some of these languages, it truly does help, especially with your not just your small things you have to do on a day-to-day basis. You'll find that, especially I've heard a lot of great things about Python, that people can do things in Python with like three commands rather than if I did it and try to do it in SQL Server or some ETL tool. It's going to take a couple of steps to get there, 3 days to make process, where I can do it in Python in 3 or 4 commands. So it never hurts to learn more languages. The fun part's always keeping them distinct in your mind on what each does and the basic command structure for everything. So I definitely recommend learning at least one programming languages. Right now, I think the big one that people are pushing is Python. But if you go more in data science, I know that one's pushing R as well. So like it goes back to I said earlier, learn it all, or at least learn as much as you can, because it will help not just becoming a job candidate for whatnot, but it will help you use the right tool for the right job.
Okay. So as you know what you while you were explaining it, and I remember the last question from Omkar himself. He was like, if you want to switch between careers, as in someday you might want to get into data science since it's on boom, and someday you might want to get into become a complete data analyst or data scientist or whatever, then Python would be a good pick to have, right? Since it's ruling the market right now and job descriptions.
Yep. Yeah. Like I said, it never hurts to learn more. Next year there'll be something new. There's always new ones coming out. There's definitely new programming languages coming out like every day. Learn. Don't just pick a new one that you've never heard of before. Oh, I want to learn this one today. No, don't do that. Be smart. At least learn the big ones that people are out there working with now, and
Yeah.
and some of the old ones as well. Like for example, command line, that can be huge as well. People are going back to using basically PowerShell as well. PowerShell is huge. If you don't know PowerShell, and especially if you're working with data, learn it. It's great. PowerShell been out now for 20 years in some form or fashion. It's great. You can do a lot with that.
So SQL, PowerShell, some sort of Unix scripting maybe, and Python is not never going old, right?
Yeah, in some form or fashion, it will always exist. Then you get to pick your data visualization tool you want to play with. There's a lot of good ones out there. There's a lot of bad ones too, but you play with them and you work with whatever the client wants. Sometimes you can't afford whatnot. Obviously, play with that. Sometimes what you want to show doesn't need all the bells and whistles of some big fancy tool either. If you don't need it, don't use it.
I agree. Right. Okay, next question. How important is to have good business acumen to be a good BI professional? This is one question I also wanted to ask because it's always a technical perspective and it's a business perspective, and I don't know what it takes to understand the business perspective.
Well, so for that one, it to become a good professional, period, you need to have good business acumen. It definitely helps to have an idea of what the business wants, what the business is thinking. So that's always a big plus for you, because it will help your trajectory up the corporate ladder. That always is a great thing. So yeah, it's definitely helpful, not just for BI professionals, but for professionals, period.
Okay, so how would you suggest for a person who is at a very junior level, like 2 3 years, just like me? So how should they start taking interest into business perspective, understanding what business needs? What am I actually presenting in my visualizations? How do I understand this better? Apart from just following the instructions.
So the big number one thing I always say is ask. Just straight ask. Why are you doing this? Um, Thankfully, I've always, well, the last several years I've been blessed to work with people who I'm not afraid to ask questions of, no matter where they are on the chain. Thankfully, we're just an email away or an IM away. Go for it. What are they going to do? Say no or just not reply? Okay. If they don't reply, big deal. I'll ask again and I'll ask again. Sometimes in a different format. It may tick them off. That's fine. But I'd like to know what the answer is, or they'll direct you to another place. That's where one of the things I like about the place I work now is at the top. I truly am blessed to have a great leader. So I can ask at any time of day, I can send them an email or I am in asking, why are we doing this? If he can tell me, he'll tell me. Thankful on that one. And if you're not at a place that has a leader, or let me rephrase that one. If you're at a place where there is no leader, you should become the leader. Period. Because remember, it doesn't have to have. You don't have to have a title to be a leader, because you want as many people following you as possible. And that's truly a great way, is just become a leader yourself, no matter where you are.
Excellent answer. You know what? And after hearing this, I really feel blessed because organizations which do not really believe in hierarchy and what amount of questioning should you do for where you stand. So from organization which really believes in open mindsets is something you should always look for. Who really perceives and believes in what you are asking, what your queries are, and they try to address them as well. So that way, I think I'm fortunate.
Yeah. Early in my career, I was not so fortunate. I worked at rather small companies, and there was no leader, and there was nothing. So thankfully, I've branched out and either became the leader at some of these places, or I was blessed enough to work at places where there were at least 2 or 3 leaders that I could look up to and be mentored by.
Yeah. So it was like awesome. I see a lot of questions, almost all the questions we have addressed. So I have one last question for this evening here in India, morning for you basically. So there's a lot of debate going on for people between who use Power BI and people who use Tableau. These are like Tableau versus Power BI. What is your favorite? Your perspective?
It depends on what the thing I'm trying to get done is. 90% of the time, I truly use Power BI. It's probably a little higher than that, actually. I use Power BI a lot for whatever I need to. I have, thankfully, I've worked in most places. Well, not thankfully, but just because I work in a lot of places that are Microsoft shop. I like it. It's a great tool. If you watch the Gartner charts, they're up in the far top right, even above Tableau. I like Tableau too. I just don't. It's a little easier doing what I need to, and it's a little easier to understand most of the time working with Power BI.
Okay. No, people can actually feel the other way around. It just depends which one you actually have picked up earlier. Like if I
Mhm.
get hands on Tableau first, I might find Power BI difficult, and the other way around, always, right? It's just your
Yep.
familiarity with the tool.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep. Yep. I actually started work pretty much the same time with Tableau and Power BI. I think Tableau I picked up actually a little earlier. Different clients though want different things. I think over the years I've just more towards Power BI anyway. It's whatever the client needs and whatever I have available, because Tableau is very expensive.
Oh
So
yes.
so you do have to keep that in mind. But yeah, Power BI can be expensive depending on what you're trying to do with it. So cost is always a factor. But yeah, I think right now at least my tool of choice is Power BI between those two.
Great. So, we are towards the end of the session, and I loved hearing all the time with all the questions. It just depends. It just depends.
That should be the answer to most of your questions you have on anything with data. It depends.
Yeah. So, any last words would you like to say to aspiring BI engineers or analysts before we wrap up?
Yeah. Truly work with data. Obviously, get better at what you're doing to become more familiar with data, whether it be on the business side to understand how the business needs it. Also, get better on the programming side to see what you can do with data, how you can clean it easy, because all of your databases are coming out with more and more releases that have new features that will make your life easier. Sometimes it makes your life harder, but it just makes your life different. So be careful and make sure to stay with all of those. Um, keep yourself up to date, and like I said, keep learning. That's how you do it.
Keep learning. There are no shortcuts. Nothing's going out of date. No tool is going obsolete. It's just that whatever goes, a lot of new things come, and that's what the world of software is. So you have to keep adapting to the new things, right? When back in times, 20 years back, you never knew if it all that you are using today will exist 20 years from now, right? So
Yeah.
you
Yeah, Y2K is a great example of like Fortran code and COBOL that's like 40, 50 years old and they're still using it. Fun part is, I know for sure that there is some Fortran code still in existence. A friend of mine actually worked last year to click at a place that was still using Fortran code. I believe it's Fortran or COBOL, I forget which one. But there was since it was the leap year, they still had an issue on last year. So then they're still using it. So bless their heart. So yeah, you're right. Your code will never go out of existence. Somewhere, somehow, people will still use it.
That is such an awesome session. I thoroughly enjoyed it. I was like having fun. Why not? Because, right, a business intelligence it is.
Awesome.
And so, yeah, with that, I think we are wrapping up. And I am so thankful and grateful for the time you have given me and addressed all the questions. And it was super helpful. Thank you so much, Kevin.
Thank you.
All right. With that, I would let your Friday be yours. And I would love to have you again on my channel.
Oh, please. I'm always available. Reach out. You tell me what you want to talk about, and I'll talk about it for who knows how long.
Awesome, awesome, great. All right. So with that, I think we are wrapping up, guys. Whatever questions you have, please feel free to post in the comment section, and we'll get you the answers. So with that, please don't forget to subscribe to this channel, and I will try to bring you all the things you need. All right. Bye.
Bye, y'all.